Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Alistair. Morning, everyone. Thanks for listening to me. I'm going to be going through some of the really cool plant species that we find in our lowland thickets here in the metro. I thought this is my first thicket forum, so I thought just a quick introduction. My name is Strydom. I'm a consulting botanist by day, Rishoidi taxonomist by night, the unofficial self-proclaimed captain of the Motherwell Lowland Thicket fan club, and I'm a champion for the conservation of the Jachtvlakte biodiversity hotspot. So just a quick overview of what I'll be talking about. I'll just quickly go through the thicket systems, the lowland thicket systems. They're largely pretty much mosaic systems that I'll be focusing on. I'm not looking at the valley thicket today. And then essentially a threatened species show and tell of pretty pictures, and some anecdotal musings, and then a summary of Jachtvlakte and the special place that it is. So we look at the lowland thicket ecosystems we have. If we go from south to north, from Klooberge to up to Kariga, and further north than that, we start off with our fynbos thicket mosaic with the Bettelsdorp Bornveld, and then we move into the area that Selma Schonland referred to as the Karoo Tongue, which sort of separates out the subtropical eastern grasslands and the fynbos to the west. So you have this Karoo tongue that stretches through. Within that tongue, I've included Albany alluvial. That's largely just because it's got many components and it's kind of mosaic-y in any case. And then as we go further east, we get to the Grassridge Bornveld, and then as we go over that ridge into the Kuduskloof Karoo Thicket. So I'm going to start off with our fynbos mosaic thicket, Bettelsdorp Bornveld. It's one of my favorites. I spend a lot of time in the Balkans, so I spend a lot of time exploring this, and some of the very cool species that we find there. So just a quick trend that I've picked up recently is species that I'm finding in the Bettelsdorp Bornveld, I'm finding across on the other side in the Grassridge Bornveld as well, but with an absence in that Karoo tongue of those species. So the first one is, I'm not going to go through all of the species, but there's lots, but this is a wonderful pea. It's one of my favorites. We find it in large big bushes in the Bornveld. I've found some small populations in the Grassridge Bornveld where it's very, very much diminished in size and quite depauperate. Podalarian McConey is a very cool little amaryllidaceae. It's got a very nice white flower. Unfortunately, I haven't got a photo. It smells amazing, and it has a very tasty fruit, apparently, although I haven't tried it yet. So Tanthus spiralis, I think a lot of you would have seen this and known this. It's quite a well-known species in the Bay, although it's not seen very often. I found this again also jumping the gap between the Bettelsdorp Bornveld and the Grassridge Bornveld. Cool little daisy that we find on the northern edges of the metro and also extending a little bit into the Balkans is Caputia scoposa var adoensis. I have found some washed down populations in Motherwell Karoo, but they are not looking very happy, and I suspect that they won't survive there. They need the sandstone. This is their natural habitat. The artist formerly known as Corpuscularia. This is Delosperma leymani. It's considered a critically endangered species, and it is, you find it on the sandstone, quartzitic sandstone outcrops throughout the Balkans Valley and further afield. There's quite a few washed down populations within the Karoo tongue. This is an undescribed species of Delosperma that's in the Balkans Valley. There is a population which runs along the south coast. It also occurs on the sandstone where the sandstone is directly coastal adjacent. And for many years this has been misidentified, unfortunately, as Delosperma pattersonia in that area. But Delosperma pattersonia is a very different species. And that's from Skuni. So the guys who did the stromatolite tour yesterday would probably have seen it growing there. Hayworthia cymbiformis, everyone loves the Hayworthia, and the Barkans is rich in nice big populations of cymbiformis. Hayworthiopsis fasciata, also a very cool little very cool Hayworthia. Largely in the fynbos, but it does creep through into the Bettelsdorp Bornveld as well. Lotenonus acuminata, sort of interesting pea with really nice, big, beautiful flowers. And since the droughts ended, I've actually found quite a lot more of this popping up all over the show, throughout all of the various habitats, from the fynbos through to the Bornveld. And one of my favorite facies of all, this is Orthopterum kochana. It's basically one population at Kukakop and the little Jason Koppie, but nowhere else to be found. It's a very, very cool and rare plant to have in our metro. Senecio heterofolius, also a very pretty daisy, was considered possibly extinct at one stage, and with the help of the Gqeberha crew team, we've managed to find quite a few more populations throughout the metro area. Strelitzia jansia, I'm sure if anyone's driven into Kariga or Uitenhage, you would have seen the millions of them that line the roads and everyone's gardens. This is not really a Bettelsdorp Bornveld species. I'm adding it here from Kukakop because I can't really place the veg type at Kukakop. I think it's closer to a Lowland Thicket or a Bettelsdorp Bornveld, but it definitely separates itself from the valley thicket that surrounds it. And then grassroots Bornveld, one of my favorite habitats. From the outset, this has been quite eaten down by the game at the Grassroots Nature Reserve. But what looks like quite a grey landscape is extremely rich in species and a lot of highly endemic species as well. So Achirianthemum recurvatum, if you've driven to Adda, you would very well likely have seen this flowering on the side of the road near the PPC properties. It's all along the road there. It's a very cool plant. Arguerobium barbatum is another Kucha or Bornveld species. I have found this further up north into Shamwari, into the concrete Bornveld there. But also, once this is flowering, they create these little small yellow cushions which light up the Bornveld. It's very, very pretty. Crashula calcarea. This is a semi-newly described species. Some authorities believe it just to be a Crashula capitaliform, but it's very unique. I think, and it grows only on the shallow outcrops in the Bornveld. You won't find it anywhere else. And Niels Jacobsen, in his paper, he described how in cultivation it remained the same. So that was the reason for the split out. Encephalitis horridus, I think everyone also knows this plant very well. Beautiful cycad, used to be, I think, a lot more in our area. Unfortunately, they're in people's gardens mostly now. And this has got to be my favorite daisy, Euryops ericifolius. It's just a real stunner. It has these massive long peduncles. For the non-botanists out there, the flower stems. And when they're in flower, they can be quite prolific, and you have these sort of 1/2 meter tall yellow bollockes of yellow flowers that flood the grey landscape of the Bornveld, and it's really something to see. This is a new Ladybouria species. Andrew Hankey from Walter Sisulu Botanical Garden is currently looking at it. It occurs also only in the grassroots Bornveld. The differences are the high number of leaves in the basal rosette, and if you look, you can't really see in the photo, but just over there's these thin striations of hairs, of small hairs along the bottom base of the leaf, which are very unique. Podium, bar spinosum. I think everyone in this room has probably come across this at some point. It's one of my favorites, also very cool. And I found this across all the habitats in the metro. Rupera divaricata is also another endemic species to the grassroots Bornveld. I don't often find it in flower, and actually when I came across this population, it took me a while to realize what it was. Because it was just so floriferous. I normally see 1 or 2 flowers on a plant, and this was a very special sighting. Rhombophyllum rhomboideum, another very cool plant in the Bornveld. It's a real stunner. Okay, let me get going. Okay, kucha sage. Salaga zayeri, another cool Bornveld species. This is Trichodiadema bulbosum. It has a big fat base underneath the ground. It's also endemic to the grassroots Bornveld. It is currently lumped under Intonzum, but we are currently trying to fix that. You find it at the Shamwari Bornveld as well as the Bornveld on the side. This is Trichodiadema rupicola. This is a seldom seen species. I know of a handful of populations, basically from the grassroots area down to St. George's Strand. And I haven't seen it anywhere else or know of any other records of it. It's not a well-known species either. Lowland Thicket. I haven't spent a lot of time in there, so I'm just going to quickly show you the two Hewethia species there. Hewethia aristata and Hewethia sordida. 2 real stunners. I've been looking for this plant for 10 years, and I managed to find a small population at the beginning of this year. Okay, Motherwell Lowland Thicket. I'm going to have to keep going now quickly, very quickly. So Aloboia, everyone knows the wonderful Aloboia, and Motherwell Lowland Thicket is its home. It's a beautiful, beautiful aloe. Delosperma hollandi. This is was considered previously extinct, but in Motherwell Lowland Thicket it's quite abundant, but you won't find it in any other habitat type. There is some drift down into Albany alluvial, but it's largely a Motherwell Lowland species. Divalia palansi, it's a rare species from Kirkwood that's washed down into our area as well. Euphorbia globosa, another lovely species, recently upgraded or downgraded, I don't know how you look at it, to critically endangered. Euphorbia melliformis, another common cool species. Hewethia cooperi polyphora, Hewethia decipiens, Ziphiophylla, tenuata. This is a Hewethia glauca Valheria armstrongi. This is a species that has one population and it grows in the north of Uitenhage. It has sterile flowers, so it only reproduces from polyploids. Ledburia coriacea, another critically endangered species. One of my favorites, although they can be tricky because when it gets dry they disappear underground and wait until the water comes up and then they pop out again. Succulentum, I'm sure everybody's seen those. Lovely. Pelargonium campestri is another endemic species to the Karoo area. Found in the Motherwell Lowland Thicket and Raffianacme zayeri. This is a lot more widespread, but it's a very cool little plant to come across. And Salaga polycephala. So this was considered possibly extinct. And about 2 years ago at Dedisa, I came across a population there, which I had confirmed by several people at the Compton Herbarium. And since then, it's come up on my radar everywhere. It seems to quite like disturbance and the softer soils. Syringadia flanagani, this is currently flowering at the moment. I took this photo on Friday. It'll probably be gone by the weekend. It comes up for 10 days to 2 weeks a year and then you don't see it again. Tritonia dubia, Trichodiadema steineri. This is another plant that was considered extinct and we found massive populations of it at Jachtvlakte, as well as the Kucha riverside as well. The freshwater wetlands, we've got Crinum campanulatum, Nephalium declinatum, and Lobelia filicornis, previously Lobelia sarcopensis. These come up in the ephemeral ponds at Jachtvlakte. only after years of significant rain. So they sit dormant. They can go for sort of 5 to 10 years in complete dormancy, waiting for the conditions to grow. And then they shoot up, they grow very quickly and flower within a couple of weeks. And then when the water subsides, they die back again. And this is just a water fern, Marsilia, Albany alluvial. Yes, so there's Delosperma parviflorum. It's quite weedy in the Albany alluvial and crawls all over the bushes. There's another new Ladyburius species, Ammonium, Nifolium, and Osteospermum spathulatum. These all grow in the brackish communities of the Albany alluvial. I'm going to skip the animals quickly, or just go with the Albany adder. We've got the Kucha copper, Cape Flightless dung beetle, the Nasma woodpecker, and the Gijsbokkie. Could you allow me 1 minute to talk about Jachtvlakte? Okay, thank you. So Jachtvlakte is this little patch of heaven that's squeezed in between Kariga and Dispatch and Kloberga. It is a very, very special area. It's highly diverse in species. It's got all sorts of different types of freshwater, wetland systems, and saline systems, and it's just a wonderful place. So just so you know where I'm talking about, here is the Jachtvlakte area. I've drawn this boundary largely around the CBA areas. It does the area Jachtvlakte extends a bit further south, but there is planned development around these areas. So the area I'm focusing on when I look at Jachtvlakte is those CBA areas. It occurs where they have these big salt pans and then the low plains. So just some of the importance of Jachtvlakte. We've got sort of 5 main ecosystem types running through there. That's including the different freshwater and saline systems. There's over 300 botanical plant species within that area, and within that we have 25 currently listed threatened species, of which 7 are listed as critically endangered species. And just some of the threats and pressures that Jachtvlakte is currently facing now is domestic grazing. We've got the urban and industrial expansion, medicinal plant exploitation, illegal dumping, aliens, and some erosion in the areas where we have water coming off of the hardened surfaces from logistics park. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll leave you